Hey students, today we're going to take a look at the cardiovascular system. Okay, good stuff. Very excited to be here. Hope you guys are all doing well with this whole shelter in place stuff. Hope you're getting stuff done, having fun, all that neat stuff. Okay, so let's see here. So what is it? What is the cardiovascular system? Cardio means heart, right? Vascular means arteries and veins. So it's the heart and the arteries and the veins. Now it's a nice little picture right here of the whole cardiovascular system. First thing you probably think about is your heart. Now, one thing I don't like about this picture, I think it's a little bit off. The heart should be a little bit to the person's left, just a little tiny bit. Okay? So there's your heart right there. You can see all the arteries and the veins. The arteries are red. Veins are harder to see. I think they're in there, but they're blue. Okay. Now, how do you define what's a heart artery? What's a vein? Anything going away from the heart is an artery. Almost always arteries are oxygen rich, so they're taking oxygen rich blood away from the heart. Veins are anything that's going back to the heart. Okay. The heart provides the pump, the heart provides the pressure, and so obviously arteries are going to have more pressure than the veins. Okay. When you guys take your pulse by either feeling your carotid artery in your neck or your radial artery in your wrist, you're feeling the arteries. You're feeling the thing with a higher pressure, the pulse. Okay, veins really don't have much pulse coming back. All right. In this picture, you can see pretty well the heart right there. You can see the blood vessels that are going to the lungs. You can see all the blood vessels in your brain. This is really important. Your brain takes about 1/5 of the oxygen in your body. So, smaller organ if you compare it to the rest of your body, but it takes a lot of oxygen there. Okay. Also, some people always say, hey, where are these big lumps right here? Those are your kidneys, and your kidneys help you filter your blood. So you got a lot of blood vessels in there as well. Okay. So amazing facts. You don't have to write these down in your notes at all. First thing is the fist. Your heart is the size of your fist. Okay. This next thing is 115,000. That is how many times your heart will beat in a day. Now, yours might be a little bit higher. It's kind of weird, but the smaller an animal is, the smaller something is, the higher its heart rate. Mice, mice and hamsters, they generally have much more than um, well over 110 beats per minute. Okay. As something gets bigger, it gets lower and lower heart rate, which is always interesting. Okay. 2000 is the gallons of blood that your heart will pump in a day. Now, that does not mean you have 2,000 gallons of blood in your body. It just gets pumped, obviously, over and over and over again. All right. Another number for you, 1893. 1893 is the year that they did the very first open heart surgery. That's just amazing to me that back in 1893, they could do open heart surgery. To do open heart surgery, they actually will cut through your sternum. That's the middle of your rib cage. Okay. They'll spread it apart so that you can see the heart inside the body. And then they can actually do surgery on the heart. Okay. Volkswagen Beetle. We have a nice little picture of Volkswagen Beetle right there. A whale, blue whale, their heart is the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. That is insane that you could actually do that. All right. Another little fun fact, Christmas. Christmas Day is the day of the year where there is, on average, the most heart attacks. So I don't know if it's the gravy that people are eating or getting together with family or maybe just the mass excitement with presents. But Christmas Day is actually the day that there are the most heart attacks per year. Okay? And 60,000 is the last fun little fact. If, and I would never be able to do this, but if you could stretch out in an adult all of their blood vessels, you would have 60,000 miles of blood vessels inside a human. Your blood vessels get so incredibly small. And just think about every single cell in your body needs to be fed with blood vessels. So 60,000 miles in your body alone. All right. So, what does our cardiovascular system do for you? Really, three things: delivers stuff, removes waste, and fights diseases. So, what do you need? Every single cell in your body needs sugars and oxygen, O2. Okay? So, sugar and O2 is what it brings. Now, obviously, your cell is going to be using that. Sugar has a lot of carbon in it. You're going to use the oxygen for the reaction. So, what comes out of it? It removes waste, CO2, carbon dioxide, okay, and dead red blood cells. You guys are making tons and tons of red blood cells every second. Well, obviously, they're also getting old, they're getting brittle, and they're dying. Your kidneys are what takes out your red blood cells. Now, interesting little fact, that is the dead red blood cells. It's actually the hemoglobin, a protein in your red blood cells. That's what makes your pee yellow, okay? And so that's all the red blood cells coming out. Okay. Last thing, fights disease is really important in this time right now. White blood cells. The white blood cells have to get throughout your whole body. They're just constantly looking for germs to kill, constantly looking for infections to take care of, to get rid of. And so that's the other thing that your circulatory system, your cardiovascular system does, is going to carry those white blood cells around to fight your diseases. All right. Now, what does the heart actually look like? A lot of people think the heart actually looks like that. You see Valentine's Day, boom, little hearts. Some of the girls in class, you know who you are, you dot your eyes with little hearts and stuff like that. Well, that's great, that's awesome, but that is nowhere near what the heart really actually looks like. The heart looks a whole lot more like this right here, okay? Now keep in mind it's about the size of your fist, so it's pretty small, but you can see this thing, you can see how it's beating. This I find so interesting. If you've ever heard someone's heart, if you've ever heard the lub dub that goes on with a stethoscope or something like that, the lub is when the atria at the top are contracting. The dub is when the ventricles at the bottom are contracting. Okay. Next slide, we're going to see this is a heart, but it's as if it's in a section. It's as if it's cross section actually cut apart. Okay. The lub is up here. When the atria contract, and they're contracting first, your atria are much smaller than your ventricles because they don't have to pump blood very far. We'll see in a minute where they do it. We're going to trace the whole flow of blood through the heart. Okay, these down here, these big cavities that you see, these are the ventricles. Okay, they pump blood much further, so they have to be a whole lot bigger, and they even have thicker walls here, more muscle. I should probably mention all of this is muscle. It's all smooth muscle, or excuse me, it's all cardiac muscle, my bad. It acts like smooth muscle because it's involuntary. You can't just think about it and make your heart beat faster. All right? Now, the other thing that I really want you guys to be able to see on this slide, I love this picture right here, I love this animation, are these things. It looks like little mouths opening and closing. Those are valves. You have one right here. This one's called the tricuspid valve. You don't need to know that name. Don't worry about it. This is the bicuspid valve. And this is the semilunar valve right there. Okay? Now, what do? After the atria contracts, while the ventricle is contracting, it closes. And so, contract, contract, contract right there. And what that does is it makes sure blood doesn't go backwards from the ventricle into the atria. Instead, it's going to go to where it needs to go, okay? In this case, it goes here. So when this guy shuts, that guy opens, okay? Same thing's going on, but it's a little bit harder to see on that side. So these valves, and they all have names, but we're just going to call them valves for now, okay? these valves are really, really important in how the heart actually functions. Okay? Now, I would like to go ahead and take a look through the heart. We're going to use this. It's just much easier to be able to see. It's not moving, stuff like that. It's not as interesting, but it's much more clear. Okay? So it's the path of the blood through the heart. Okay? First, it's going to come in the veins. All right? This blue thing up here and this blue thing down there, both of those empty into the right atria. So all the blood, and this is oxygen poor blood. This is blood that is gone throughout the body. It's done its job. The oxygen has been sucked out of it, but it's going to be coming back into the atria. Okay? Now the atria is going to contract, and when it contracts, all it does is it squirts the blood through this little valve right here, okay, into the ventricle. So the right atria, all the atria has to do is squirt it through into the ventricle. It literally only has to move it like 3 centimeters. That's really not that far to be able to move it, okay? So these can be fairly weak. Goes through the valve into the right ventricle. Now I should probably mention left and right. It's not your left and right, it's the left and right as if the animal or as if the person was lying on there. Now, if you thought of a person lying on this slide, this would be their right side, this would be their left side. Okay? So blood comes in through the veins, right atria, through the valve, into the right ventricle. Okay? Then when the right ventricle contracts, it's going to go through another valve right here, the semilunar valve, okay? And it's going to go to the lungs, all right? Now that's where our diagram goes away. Lungs, boom, right here, boom, right there. The blood's going to squirt out to the lungs. Now what happens at the lungs is going to get oxygen rich. That's what happens at the lungs. The lungs give the blood oxygen. So from the right ventricle, it's going to go through a valve into the, it's going to go to an artery to the lungs. Okay? Now, the next thing is coming back from the lungs. Okay? See these two tubes right here? It's going to come back into, now we're on the left side of the heart, into the left atrium. Okay? Now, it's hard to see in this diagram. See these two tubes right here? They actually go behind the heart, and they also empty into the left atrium, okay? This side, this is blood coming from the left lung. This is blood coming from the right lung. So what happens, the blood comes back, goes into the left atrium, then it's going to go through a valve, very simply, and then it's going to go into the left ventricle. Now, your left ventricle is probably one of the it is the most important chamber of your heart, right down there. It has to be the strongest, the beefiest. It's oftentimes the biggest chamber as well, because this one, when this contracts, it's going to send it out through a valve, through the aorta. Okay, this right here is called the aorta. It's going to send it through the aorta, and that actually goes to your entire body. Okay. So this guy right here, your left ventricle, feeds blood to your entire body. So this one is the strongest one. Okay? So we're just going to review that real quick. I'll have to do another video for the rest of my slides, but blood comes in through the vein, right atrium, through a valve, into the right ventricle, and then it goes out through an artery to the lungs. It's going to come back in, oxygen rich from the lungs into the left atrium, through a valve, left ventricle, through another valve, through the aorta. Okay? We're going to go ahead and end our video right there. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.